Welcome in, fellow Guardians. Grab your winter coats and gloves as there is an ice storm incoming. Today, we will be going over my favorite build yet, the Stasis Warlock. This build has it all: ad clear, DPS, survivability, but most of all, fun. This is legit the most fun I've had playing any build yet in Destiny 2. You will be feeling like 𝕃𝕆𝕃𝕆 with all the frozen enemies and stunned champions letting go and crumbling into icy shards. This build will have you marching your way through all content, including Grandmasters. But first, since you're already here, make sure you hit that thumbs up like button, smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Every interaction helps grow the channel as we're pushing towards 500 subs. Don't forget to leave a comment below, as I do respond to all comments. Let me know what you would change. Have you tried this build before? What other builds would you like to see next? I also do stream on all platforms at least 3 days a week. Links will be in the description below. Come hang out and let's play together. I'm down to play all content with my viewers. Let's go raid. Let's go play some Crucible. Let's go run the new dungeon. You want to do some deep dives? I'm all for it. Come and hang out. I'd love to see you there. Now, let's get back into the build. You will not only be chaining ice everywhere, you'll be keeping an overshield while doing it. This is a build that is sustainable for future seasons, as this season's artifact really doesn't have any perks that will enhance this build. So if in future seasons, if we do get stasis artifact mods, this build will become even more powerful. With that being said, I will not be going over the artifact mods because there's nothing really in there that pertains to this build. The only thing I will say is you want to make sure that you get the correct mods to stun the champions that you need to stun during various activities. The only mod that I do say that you probably will need for this build is the trace rifle mod. That way you can stun those overload champions with that mod. Other than that, you can really build into the artifact however you see fit. The only other mod I would say you should probably shoot for is the counter charge mod, because you do gain an armor charge stack when you stun a champion. But other than that, build it however you want to. So we're really not gonna be going over the artifact like I'd said before. Okay, so let's get into the subclass and what we're gonna use with the abilities, aspects, and fragments within this subclass. Of course, we're gonna be the Shadebinder Warlock. And with that, obviously, we're gonna be using Winter's Wrath super ability. It's the only super that we have is the Shadebinder, which what happens is, you summon a stasis staff while your super is active. You can cast out a barrage of stasis, then you can freeze everything that is affected by the stasis. So what you do is you shoot your rod, you get them frozen, then immediately you crush them. So the two things that happen with this is that you freeze your target, it's trapped in stasis, unable to move. After taking additional damage while frozen, the target shatters. Shattering occurs when a frozen target is shattered, then they take damage and deal damage to nearby targets. Shatter damage causes unstoppable champions to be stunned. So you will be able to stun unstoppables with this build already. So you don't necessarily need that trace rifle if you are using a trace rifle, but I still do recommend it either way, just in case for some reason you do not get the stun that way, you still have the backup stun with the trace rifle. And the super right there just says it all. That's the entire point of this build. We're gonna try to freeze everything and then shatter everything, stay healed the entire time, destroy everything in your way. It's just absolutely phenomenal. So I do want to make a disclaimer. When I was making this build, I had really neglected stasis since Beyond Light I'd taken a few years away. So I had to grind to get the aspects and fragments that I needed along with the grenade. So as you'll see, I don't have all the fragments unlocked, but I went and I really did a big, deep study over the fragments to find out which ones I should shoot for in order to make this build. And I'm completely satisfied with them and think that this is the best build for the Stasis Warlock class. As for your abilities, of course, we're going to run a healing rift so we can continuously heal while we're inside of it. Straight glide is just my glide I prefer for the Warlock. You can use whatever you like. We're going to use 𝕃𝕆𝕃𝕆𝕍 Blast. It raises your stasis staff against your foe, sending a blast stasis forward to freeze your targets. You'll be able to shoot a little stasis ball at them and freeze your targets. And then the Cold Snap Grenade. This whole build is built around the Cold Snap Grenade. It's a grenade that freezes on impact and sends another seeker to find and freeze targets. So what you're going to do is you're going to throw it out there. It's kind of like an arc grenade, like the arc bolt grenade, where it's going to, go to other enemies around. So you're going to be freezing multiple enemies with that alone. And on to the aspects, we're going with Ice Flare Bolts, where shattering a frozen target spawns seekers that track and freeze other nearby targets. So again, everything's going to be frozen on the battlefield. You're going to be freezing them, and you're going to be shattering them, which is going to cause more freezes. It's going to cause more shatters. It's going to make that Cold Snap Grenade even more powerful. It's going to make your weapons more powerful. It's going to make all your abilities more powerful. I just really like the Ice Flare Bolts, like I said, because when you kill one, it just spreads it. You're just going to see chaining ice everywhere. And then for our second fragment, I know a lot of people go with the turrets, and I do like the turrets a lot, but for this build, I think Glacial Harvest is the way to go. Freezing targets creates stasis shards around frozen targets. Higher tier combatants creates more shards. So these shards are just going to appear when you kill your enemies, and what the shards are going to do is it's going to restore your melee energy so you get that melee back so you can shoot more of those ice projectiles, but it's also going to give you that overshield. Doesn't give you a whole lot of overshield. We're not gonna get crazy amount of overshield, but we'll be creating so many shards. You'll be healing and having your grenade energy all the time. And then on top of that, you're gonna be having this overshield from your shards. Trust me, like I said, it was tight decision for me to make the turrets or the overshield, but I really do prefer the overshield. And plus you'll see some other things that these stasis shards do for you. Okay, on to the fragments. The first fragment I use is Whisper of Chains. While you're near frozen targets or a friendly stasis crystal, you take reduced damage from targets. So you go and you freeze everything around you. You're near frozen targets because you'll be literally freezing everything. You're getting up close and personal. You'll be taking reduced damage by using this fragment. This also gives you a 10 boost to recovery, which is always good to get a boost to your stats that you don't have to use your armor for. Up next, Whisper of Fissures. Increase the damage and size of the burst of stasis when you destroy a stasis crystal or defeat a frozen target. So again, what you're gonna do is you're gonna freeze everything, then you're gonna destroy it, you're gonna freeze it, you're gonna shatter it, then you're gonna create more damage that the stasis does, because the stasis isn't naturally a really damage heavy build, but this will create more damage when you do shatter enemies. Our next fragment is the Whisper of Rhyme. Collecting a stasis shard grants a small amount of overshield, which falls off after 10 seconds. Collecting additional shards adds to the overshield and refreshes the timer. So because you're creating so many shards with the Glacial Harvest, you'll be getting an overshield, you'll be getting little increments of overshield, but you're constantly going to be refreshing that overshield, building that overshield up and refreshing that timer to where literally you can have an infinite overshield if you play this build right. And lastly, we're going to be using the Whisper of Shards. Shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional stasis crystals increase the duration of this benefit. Plus it also gives you a 10 resilience, and resilience is huge on any build because it keeps you from taking as much damage. So basically what this is going to do is you're going to shatter the stasis crystals. You're going to be getting additional grenade recharge to shoot the stasis out of your rod again. Plus you're going to get increased duration of this benefit because you're constantly going to be collecting those crystals that you made. Again, that's what makes this build so OP. Now on to the weapons for this build. For this build, we do use the Ager Scepter, which you cannot go and get anymore. It has been lost to light. So what you have to do is you have to go to the Monument to Lost Lights and purchase them from the Beyond Light exotic section. And there it is right there, the Ager Scepter. It's a trace rifle that's stasis. In order to buy it, you need to have an exotic cipher, 125,000 glimmer, 200 legendary shards, and an ascendant shard, and then it's yours, and then you just upgrade it. In my opinion, this is the best stasis starter weapon. The amount of range that it has, the amount of destruction it creates, the circle of the radius of when you do freeze somebody that this creates is just absolutely phenomenal. Yes, you could use something like Verglass Curve, but I highly recommend that Ager's Scepter is the weapon to use. All right, on to the intrinsic trait of this weapon, Ager's Call. Final blows with this weapon generate a slowing burst around the defeated targets. So when you defeat an enemy, it'll also cause that slowdown that will get them slowly moving, allowing you to freeze them again, killing them, and then spreading that effect even more. The other main perk that this weapon has is Rhaega's Refrain. Stasis final blows transfer ammo to this weapon's magazine from reserves. So when you use this weapon and you end up killing an enemy with it, that final blow reloads the weapon for you. So you can fire a continuous burst, a stream of stasis at all times and destroy everything and freezing everything around, controlling everything on the field. I also highly do recommend that you unlock the catalyst for this. You can get it by any playlist. It'll drop for you. You kill a yellow bar, it'll drop for you. Then you just go get your kills. So what this does is when you have a full super, pressing R, whatever button it is for you, will drain the super energy, overflowing the magazine, and empower the beam with bonus damage and ability to slow and freeze targets until magazine or super energy runs out or the weapon is stowed. can only be activated when super energy is full. So you get a full super, you switch firing modes, and then you're doing even more damage. So say you don't need to use your super. I do like usually casting my super whenever possible. This makes it a super, super powerful weapon. You're going against a boss and your stasis isn't, hitting it as well. You change over to this and then boom, you just melt them right on down. I really love this weapon. It is so fun to play with and it just makes this build chef's kiss. As for my secondary weapon, I'm just using a Gnawing Hunger. You can really use anything in this slot. I'm using the auto rifle, so I have that anti-barrier properties. And Void is still always really, really, really good. You can build for Void a little bit with the artifact, but I didn't want to fill that in because you can really use any secondary weapon you want here. Like I said, I really like having the auto rifle just so I can knock down barriers if need to. And then for my heavy, I'm running that Cold Comfort rocket launcher from the newest dungeon, Ghost of the Deep. I really like this rocket launcher a lot because I really like that perk Restoration Ritual. Reviving allies or defeating combatants with finishers reloads this weapon and readies an emergency reload for the next time this weapon runs out of ammo. So while it only has the one in the magazine, you can almost make it have, I wouldn't say infinite ammo, but you can have it with the 2 shots in the magazine, but then you go and you kill an enemy and then you revive an ally, you're gonna keep reloading it. So you can have a constant reload of ammo without having to reload the gun. I love this a lot. I still have to masterwork it. You can use any stasis weapon in this area, but I really think the Cold Comfort just makes this thing pop. All right, as we're moving from left to right, let's look at the stats first and foremost before we get into the armor. As always, in all of my builds, as you will see, I shoot for 100 resilience. That survivability is huge no matter what class you're playing. And as well, we have 100 discipline to keep those cold snap grenades going. Plus, we're getting our grenade energy back super quickly from some other things that we're doing. So therefore, we'll just have that grenade constantly chaining that ice. Also, you want to try to boost your recovery up a little bit just so you can get a little bit more recovery. Mobility doesn't matter for a warlock. You can spec into an intellect if you want to. You don't need to spec into strength. So like always, I try to say on warlock, spec into resilience, spec into discipline, and then if you have everything else spec into, go for some recovery. As for the exotic armor piece that this is built around, it is the 𝕃𝕆𝕃𝕆𝕎 gloves. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. That's just a really difficult word to me to pronounce. The perk of this armor is Fervid Cold Snap. Your cold snap grenades have an additional charge that recharges quicker on direct impact. The seekers spawned from cold snap grenades travel further. So your cold snap grenades will travel further, plus you get an additional charge of grenades and it recharges quicker when you directly impact an enemy. These gloves are really awesome. They're made for a stasis build. They synergize really well with all the grenades that we'll be throwing, with all the freezing we'll be doing. So it's just a really, really, really good armor piece to use for this. I think it makes this build unstoppable in my opinion. And since we're already here on the gauntlets, let's go ahead and get into the mods that we're going to use in our armor. We'll start with the arms first. Usually we go ahead, but we'll start with the arms. As always, for your general armor mod, spec in whatever you need to get that 100 resilience, 100 discipline, and then whatever else you want to spec into. So that really doesn't matter. You don't need to pay attention to my general armor mods. But I use momentum transfer, which causes damage with grenade, reduces your melee cooldown. So you'll be having more melees every time you cause grenade damage, which you will be causing a lot of. Impact induction, causing damage with a melee attack, reduces your grenade cooldown. So vice versa. Every time you use your melee, your grenades are gonna cool down that much quicker. And then lastly, we use grenade kickstart, which when your grenade energy is fully expended, you gain grenade energy. So you use that grenade, it's gonna come up a lot, and then all your other bonuses will kick in that moves it even further. So you'll almost always have grenades. So for your helmet mods, what we're gonna be doing, we're gonna have special ammo finder first and foremost. So we increase the drop rate of special ammo and kills because we will be using our special weapon as a primary. So we want to generate as much special ammo as possible. And then I always like to use siphons on my helmet, but make sure that you're using harmonic siphon. Since we're using a stasis build, the harmonic siphon makes the stasis siphon only cost 1. Because if you were to go down here and you were to select actual stasis siphon, it would cost you 3 energy. By doing it this way and using harmonic siphon, you can double up, get 2 of them, and it'll only cost you 2 charges, and also use a max general armor mod if needed. And as always, siphons are really big because they create an orb on final blows. And then if you have multiple ones, it creates that orb is more potent when you do it. So having 2 is really, really, really good. And onto the chest armor mods. I feel like a broken record with this. You can really use any mods you want to for protection, for damage resistance that you want. I really like Concussive Dampener, which helps against AoE attacks. I'm a lot of Arc this season. There's a lot of Void out there. There's Solar. So you can change these towards whatever activity that you are running and what the incoming surges may or may not be. All right, as for the leg armor, what I like to use is 2 stasis weapon surges, where your stasis weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you have any armor charge. So we'll be getting armor charge. We will be decaying, which kind of sucks, but multiple stacks of this mod increases the potency of its effects. So therefore we'll be doing a little bit more damage with stasis when using our stasis weapons with these 2 mods. And then lastly, another mod that I love using is recuperation, which is when you replenishes health each time you pick up an orb of power. So we're creating those extra orbs from the siphon plus other things in this build. We're getting health back really quickly. We will be having that overshield. Like I said, you're not going to die with this build. You'll just be freezing everything before it even gets to you. And if it does get to you, just be healing and throwing that overshield right on. As for your bond, Reaper to me is a really, really good mod. I use it in a lot of builds. After using class ability, your next weapon final blow spawns an orb of power. To use your class ability, be creating another orb of power, and the cycle goes on. Next, you'll be using Powerful Attraction, which as many of you know is my favorite new mod in Destiny. You automatically collect nearby orbs of power whenever you activate your class ability. So you activate your class ability, you'll bring those orbs into you, be creating health, and then continue to generate more orbs. And then next, we're gonna put on Time Dilation. So your armor charge that is decaying has a longer duration. So you won't see that armor charge tick down as quick, which you will need it for certain aspects you're using with this build. All right, everybody, that's it. That is the build. I hope you've enjoyed this video. The dim link for the loadout will be below in the description. I've brought y'all a lot of builds recently, and honestly, this is the one I've had the most fun in making. Please leave a comment below. Tell me if you've tried this build, any suggestions for improvement, or which build you want to see next. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up like and smash that subscribe button as we're pushing for 500 subs. Also, feel free, swing by the Twitch, Kick, or even here on YouTube when I'm live. Come and help. Let's raid together. Let's go have some fun. And lastly, thank you so much, everybody, for the love recently. It's just been so great to see this channel grow and all of your comments and discussions and suggestions. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. Next time, we'll finally be diving into our Titans and making our first Titan build. I can't wait till then. This is your boy, Old Man Sim out. I'll see you next time. Peace. Oh, he just fucking made me do a fuck. That's how I dance in real life, bro. Just like that.